New sheriff in town over at left tackle, and he is responsible for Patrick Mahomes' blindside. Welcome, Jaylon Moore, as well as another ex-49er. We're going to get into it all right now and answer all your questions here on RGR. Welcome in, everybody. This is RGR Football. You guys know that because you're here already. We appreciate you. This is my man, Dan Harms. He runs all the film and stuff around here. Draft extraordinaire over at the Draft Network, as well as a number of other things that he's got going on, like Dad of the Year and that kind of competition. So we're working on it. It's just me, Ryan, on here on the other side, and we're going to go through the day's events. Kind of rare, honestly, for the Chiefs to be square in the middle of it here on day one of free agency, but I think that tells you the overall situation that they felt they were in. A couple of things that they did that felt a little pressed, but also a couple that worked out. So we're really excited about it. Make sure you like this channel, subscribe, do the stuff, make the business, be here with us. You can get the gear that he's wearing or I'm wearing or whatever you want in the store. And I'm trying to drop the new ones before we get any farther down the road, but it's going to be fun. So your questions are what drive this show. This is Monday night. We do this every Monday night. If you've never seen us before, come back here next Monday night. You're going to see it again. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to take all your super chats. Everyone gets an answer, as well as all the other topics. We got a bunch in here from our regulars. So cheers to you guys. We'll get to you momentarily. But this was a day they signed a left tackle. They signed a running back, both ex-49ers. I was a little taken back by the Moore signing only because I thought he was a solid player. But if I was going to sign a guy that isn't a starting left tackle in this league, I was looking at Patrick McCarry from the Ravens, who did end up signing for a very similar deal. So, A, what's your thought on Moore? And B, how much did it surprise you, just like she's doing now? So I'll just keep talking because Dan's occupado here at this point, so that's okay. It's just one of those deals. Backups have a general availability, and I didn't think Moore was going to be as high on the list as he seemed to be. But what do you think?
Honestly, I wasn't hugely excited about the contract because he has 12 starts in 4 years in the NFL. So you are once again putting your faith in a relatively unproven player with a pretty good amount of money to come in and not only be what he almost hasn't had, as it almost hasn't been before, but to protect Patrick Mahomes' blindside. But it also tells you, one, how they feel about the players in-house and how they feel about this draft. That they don't feel like they're going to be able to trade up to go get one of the players that they maybe have singled up in the draft. They don't want to count on one falling. It does not preclude them from drafting a tackle in the first round, mind you. It should not do that whatsoever, because I'm here to tell you, Jaylon Moore is not the future at left tackle for Kansas City. I know, shocking surprise for a 27-year-old first-time free agent to be not the future in Kansas City. But I will say I'm getting into the tape, and it's not hard to see the vision, but there is a reason he was a backup. I understand that Trent Williams was the guy at left tackle, but I think he would have been a backup for a lot of other teams as well. And on Wednesday in the film room, we'll get to all of the goods, the bads, the maybe uglies about his game. But overall, when you see the Dan Moore contract, you're like, okay, I feel pretty good about this right now. Because until that came down, I was like, well, I don't know. But then you see that contract come down and you're just like, okay, well, I guess on the outside looking in, you can live with that.
Yeah, and that's exactly how I took it as well. It is 2 for 30, 21 guaranteed for Jaylon Moore. Brown got significantly more, 82 for 4. I mean, that is what you wanted to avoid, to tell you the truth. And they were able to do that. Now, I don't think it's the full solution. As you said, it does not preempt you from drafting a tackle at any point in that draft, maybe 2 of them. But it does fit a piece of the puzzle in getting that solution fixed. For, again, he's in addition to 9 other guys that have been on this roster. So you overload this. You make sure that you never get in this position again. You said it a couple years ago and you let yourself slip. Now you cannot afford to do it again. And I think this is part of the solution. We'll go through the draft class as we run up to it. You guys, you know you're going to get that because we can't avoid the draft talk around here anyway.
Yeah.
The other Elijah Mitchell. I liked him coming out. He was gangbusters his rookie year in 2021, 1,100 yards on the ground, got hurt, got sidelined, fell out of favor is just the nicest way to put it. And then Christian McCaffrey shows up. So you're not doing yourself any favors there sticking around. Didn't play last year because of a hamstring issue, an entire season lost to a hamstring issue. That is difficult to swallow for me. This is a risk. But I will say this. The training staff in Kansas City is very good at what they do. I'm sure they've checked their boxes and they feel that he'll be ready to play. The question will be about re-injury for me. Not that this one isn't corrected, but here's the thing. In a timeshare, I like him better than trying to make him your starting tailback. Maybe that helps protect him from the overuse that can catch some soft tissue injuries and make them recur. But he does have that top gear, the thing that I've been crying about since the playoffs began, about having to have somebody that can get outside and kick it. I do think he still has that or has the possibility to have that.
Yeah, it's trying to figure that out. Like Isaiah Pacheco is also supposed to have that, but he's coming off of another injury. My issue with all of this is that their running back room is, in my opinion, no better than it was last year because of the injuries. They have injury problems in their running back room. This is not a good situation to be in. And I'm even if they were to bring back Kareem Hunt, like this is not a great running back room. Like I personally don't like investing even a little bit of money into an injury problem. Mm-hmm. I personally don't. So Elijah Mitchell will not move the needle for me at all. I would prefer them to draft at least running back if you can find a way to pick up another day 3 pick at some point throughout this process. But overall, I don't know. It just doesn't work for me specifically, unless he's going to have the one healthy season that he had as a rookie. Since then, he hasn't played a full season. So it's hard for me to get on board with that saying, hey, the running back room's addressed. No, it really isn't, because you've got multiple injury problems there.
Yeah, it is, again, just like his former San Francisco running mate, part of the fix. It is not all of it at all. Normally I would say, hey, they missed the boat. They could have done something else. I'm really going to keep my eye on what Makari does, because I do think he's a guy that still has upside. We'll see what happens. They made this choice. They'll live with it, and they'll see what happens in the draft. So that's where we are on the major signings. Obviously, a couple of pieces of news. Samaje Perine goes back to the Cincinnati Bengals. That pisses me off just in and of itself, because now he knows the whole offense, and they're going to be picking his brain. New defensive coordinator, and that just bothers me. But him. Then Justin Watson moves on. We knew that was going to happen. Yeah. We had expected that. There wasn't a whole lot of interest there. The one that hurts is Turk Wharton. Getting the bag there, $18 million a year over in Carolina. Kudos to him. Sorry we couldn't afford you, bro. I mean, that's really what it comes down to, right?
Yeah, they were not paying $18 million. Granted, I think it's closer to 45-ish, but then he can up to $54 million, which, again, regardless, for a UDFA, being able to get that bag after a 1-year contract to come back to Kansas City, and then you get that in free agency. Those are the stories that we love about football. Those are the generational type of wealth stories that you love to see, guys coming, from nowhere and hitting it in the NFL and providing their families and then future generations with the money like that. So hats off to him. It sucks that he's not going to be in Kansas City, because this past year was special for him. And obviously, hopefully he's able to continue that process for himself and the Carolina Panthers. But it's not a great situation the Chiefs are in right now, a defensive line, like we've been telling you for the last 2 years, and it still isn't good.
Poof, what defensive line? It's gone. Right? It's like magic. Kaiser Soze is looking for him. I don't know. Anthony, thank you for reminding me. If you guys would hit that like button, that definitely helps. We appreciate you. I also want to let you know, before we get to your questions, which are coming up next, this is the special time of year where we do a ton of work and we put a few things out for you guys to enjoy. We want to let you know that as of right now, the Athletic Matrix is available for pre-order. I'm doing it a little bit differently this year. You're going to get a chance to order it now, and it'll get dropped. It'll be available for download when I re-change the file to the receipt that you will get, or can even just email it out. So we're trying to get ahead of things, because this schedule this year is really, really crazy. I've got to be out of town for a while. There's a lot going on, so we want to get it out there early. We're going to do the same thing with the draft guide. all of our content. You can see parts of the draft guide here on the website over at rogueapc.com. It's going to give you the breakdown. It's going to give you our guide, our rankings, and how we put it all together. That is coming, and we're going to get you probably the pre-order for that here, hopefully by the end of the week. And everything is up and available. So go check it out at Rogue APC. There is a link in the description, and I hope you guys will dig it once again because it's a lot of fun to do. So, Anthony, thank you. Appreciate you. Micah had the first question in the door, as he usually does. Welcome in, Micah. The Niners are trying to get younger and cheaper. Why wouldn't they trade or cut Trent Williams and sign more? That's the question. They chose to let the backup go because clearly they still feel that Trent Williams is their best option at that point. Maybe that's just because Trent is still playing at a pretty high level, at least from what I went and looked at. So maybe they're just not ready, and affording them both was not on the table, which makes perfect sense to me. But that would have been probably my expectation as well, is try to get something out of it. But maybe it was lack of trade partner. What do you think?
I think nobody was going to trade for Trent Williams, period. With his contract, his age, coming off of an injury-plagued season, regardless of how good he is at the top of his game, which we all know is one of the best, if not the best tackle in football, it's hard to want to take that on for most teams, specifically when most of them aren't ready to compete. And the ones that are, outside of the Chiefs, have tackles, have good tackles, if not, good to next level ones. So you're not getting a team that is currently ready to win now, trading for Trent Williams in his current state. So that's probably why. And regardless of how the 49ers construct their offensive line, because it is very offensive line friendly. It is. I'm telling you right now, their offensive line, the run scheme, their pass protection stuff is all pretty friendly from the offensive line, and the running backs afforded to it. So there is a little bit of that to play as well. They think they can do a little bit more with maybe the draft class as well as the players they have in-house. So that's probably why.
Yeah, my thought as well. Let's see. Ocean, Miss Caroline, nice to see you. And you guys check her out over on NFL33.com. We're going to have some new content coming here real quick this week as well. So check that. Do we still draft OT or IOL in the first 2 days, specifically in the top 100? Who do y'all have your eye on? I think this changes absolutely nothing, except for the fact they don't feel that they have to light a fire and give up half the draft to go up to 14 or something. They can sit back. They can wait till the 20s and see who's there. I have my eye, particularly at tackle. Dan, I'm not sure you're big on him. I honestly don't know your opinion off the top of my head, but I'll just throw it out there and see what you think. The guy that I think that could be available where they're picking now, or maybe even a little bit later if they get a chance to trade down, we'll see how it all falls out, is the long kid from Texas, Banks. I think that would be a fit that I could live with, and I think has the upside to maybe fill in with this signing pretty well.
If Banks falls, I think that would be a fantastic option for them. One, he's a very good run blocker. He comes in and raises the floor of your run game immediately. Like, there's zero question about that. The other problem, again, is that he's inconsistent from a pass protection standpoint. He is. He's got shorter, quote unquote, shorter arms, still above 33. But as I told you guys last week, if there's a good player that they're going to draft that has less than 34-inch arms, they're going to do it. Jaylon Moore has 33 and 3/8-inch arms. Yep. They aren't 34s. So they have to have this. It's a preference thing. It's just a preference. But they like Moore enough that they are going to pay him $15 million a year, and they don't care about the arms. So I like Kelvin Banks. We have him actually as a top 20 player in the draft on the Draft Network's top 100 page. We'll see how that shakes out by Wednesday. We might be moving some things around. But overall, I like him very much. And I think he kind of likens to what I've seen already from Jaylon Moore. Like, he's got the type of movement. I think Banks is a better athlete so far. But he's got more upside as a pass protector based on what I've seen from the footwork. But they do mirror themselves in terms of run blocking, a little bit better at that regard, but it's giving up a soft shoulder at times as well. So we'll see about how I feel about Jaylon Moore after the end of my film watching. But I do like Kelvin Banks quite a bit. But I agree. We shouldn't see a change in anything. Free agency is for need. You bring in needs so you can open up yourself to draft the player that's highest on your board when you're available to pick. So you don't have to be so you don't force yourself into trading up. The last times the Chiefs have traded up, it's not because they were forced to. It's because, oh damn, a player we really like is available. Let's go get him. That's what this is for.
And that's a luxury you want to have. Yeah, I completely agree. As far as IOL, Caroline, I don't see any need for it in the top 100. They have 3 players there at this position that they like, that they have drafted recently. Actually, 4, scratch that. I could even see Wanya playing in a guard. But Wanya, Kingsley, Norzad, and Hansen are all still here. So, and that even doesn't even argue about Caliendo, who I don't think is necessarily destined to be a role player on this roster, but we'll see what happens. So I think IOL, you feel like you have 5 options that at least round that out. I don't know that they're going to do that in the top 100, unless, again, somebody drops it they just feel is ready. Take this one, and I'm going to change something real quick.
No problem. Micah, what's going on, man? Thanks for another question here. Is McDuffie pricing himself out of Kansas City with these cornerback deals blowing up? Do you think Surtain will sign a $30 million year deal? So I believe Surtain's already under contract. Maybe I'm wrong.
I believe so as well.
But I'll look it up real quickly, Micah, so we can have it. Yeah. So he signed a 4-year, $96 million deal with the Denver Broncos. So he is already under contract. Then we saw the J.C. Horn contract today. So here's the long and the short of it. They should have gotten out in front of the contract regardless, but the Chiefs technically have 3 years of control. Under what we currently view as market value. They have 2025, they have the 5th year option in 2026, and then they have the franchise tag available in 2027. So while I believe they should have gotten out in front of the contract and extended him now, and you wouldn't have to go through all that nonsense, they have 3 years of realistic, unadulterated free agent control over Trent McDuffie. That's probably what they're looking at. I think it was a poor decision, personally. When you look at the money allocated other places this offseason already, I would have much rather seen Trent McDuffie get some of that, and because he's a cornerstone corner. And those guys are he's among one of the best in the NFL, with 2 all-pro teams already at outside and slot and nickel corner. As good as we believe Trey Smith is, he is not a first-team all-pro guard. Just not.
Right.
So that's my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. I would have gotten out in front of this, and I think we've been talking that for a while, that the earlier you pay, the better. And because of deals just like this, because it only goes up the longer the time goes on. So we'll see how and when they address it. I hope that it's sooner rather than later. Steve, which quarterback in this draft could help the Chiefs as an undrafted free agent with smarts and a good arm? Well, a guy that I thought coming into the season, and honestly halfway through the season, was going to be an undrafted free agent, seems to get a lot of love, at least from the media draft guys in, how do you say his name, Shuck?
Yeah, Tyler Shuck, yeah.
I don't know, man. It just seems like this board is all over the place. Could McCord last? I don't think so. I don't know. Honestly, I'm pretty disappointed in this entire class. My best grade, and I'm just about done with this class, my best grade would have been the 7th drafted quarterback in last year's draft. So that tells you just how poor it is. I don't know if there's really a whole lot of value when it comes down to the undrafted free agents.
Yeah, you're probably not. And again, Shuck was a guy who wasn't on most people's radar before the Senior Bowl. Didn't have a great Senior Bowl, but here we are talking about it for whatever reason. And Kyle McCord had a good year at Syracuse, put himself on the map. Probably still a day 3 guy. Like, let's be honest. He had a good year. That's it. One good year. So there's not anybody in this draft that you're going to go ahead and UDFA that's better than like Chris Oladokun in terms of what you're talking about. Like that's the kind of player the Chiefs already have.
Yeah, I agree. They will add somebody. I just don't know that
sure.
they'll be from this draft class. Micah, Rasheed Rice said on I Am Athlete Pod that Reid doesn't allow players to hang their gloves on their face mask. They can't wear tinted visors, and cleats have to be team colors. Should he ease up? Hell no. I see no reason to. You got to be part of this team. I'm all for expression and all that, but you know what? It works. If they were a bottom dweller, I'd say, okay, maybe you should ease up and let players do what they want to do, but it's like this system works or something. I don't know.
At the end of the day, Andy Reid gives the players a lot of other freedoms that most teams don't get. So pretty sure that they can live with some of the little preferences that Andy Reid has, considering what they've done over the course of his entire tenure.
Yeah. I mean, and I think I disagree with the third part, Micah, because I know I've seen guys with tinted visors. Maybe not colorized.
Yeah.
But I know I've seen some. It's not just clear, that's for sure. So there's a little bit of wiggle room there, especially if it helps you do your job, Each of you pick your least favorite signing of the day. Chief signing, like pick between the two, or like our least favorite overall.
I would imagine overall, because the Chiefs only had two, outside of
Yeah.
Christensen, who was just signed back on a 1-year deal. So
Oh,
if,
okay.
if I'm going like holistic, it's the Dan Moore contract. It's a gross overpay,
It is.
gross overpay. There's quite a few of those in the market right now, but that's the most egregious one that I've seen.
And I'll say this: I'm glad Mike Borgonzi is the GM in Tennessee now. But Mike, you didn't have to go to battle with Brett and pay that much. Okay, that was a miscalculation. I agree with you in terms of like the worst signing in terms of like overpay. But the one that pisses me off the most is Trey Greenlaw and Hufanga in Denver. That's going to make me mad. So
that's not fun. That's not fun to watch, because their defense is already good. Now has a couple of ass kickers that, granted, are they the best down the field? Maybe not, but they are going to be menaces where the Chiefs currently want to live in the passing game.
Yes, I agree. And I'll tell you this, the runner-up is frickin' Harbaugh getting his guy. God, I literally was just going to say his name. Najee. Najee
hasn't
goes
gotten him
to
yet.
the Chargers.
Hasn't gotten
I
him
thought
yet.
I thought it was
not
done.
official. Not official.
Because if he does, that's going to piss me off too. I'm just going to tell you guys right
That doesn't do anything for me.
I'm going to be grumbling for a while. Steve, any news on Justin Reid? None that I have heard yet. And I can't say it's super shocking. Youth is getting the play right now. So I think it'll be wave 2, maybe even wave 3. Which is the best fit in KC? Nolan, Harmon, Tyleek. I'm partial to the reverse order of these three. What do you think?
I think Walter Nolan is my personal best fit in Kansas City, just because I think that his upsides next to Chris Jones. Maybe he's not the ideal starter next to Chris Jones. I'll say that. Maybe he's not the Derek Nottie run stuffer with the upside of Walter Nolan as a pass rusher guy. But I think he's the best of the three. Tyleek probably makes the most sense from a fit standpoint, because I think, like Ryan said, he's better with probably playing one tech right now. He's a bigger body. He can take on double teams better than both Harmon and Nolan. And then he's still working it out as a pass rusher. Flashes are there, but a guy like Walter Nolan is got a lot of power, and he doesn't always anchor himself in there as much. He can do it, but he doesn't do it as often. And I'm still iffy on Harmon. I know everyone loves him, but I'll have to go back to his game probably at some point, because I'm very up and down with him.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, I think it all depends on who you watch. I think the consistency is part of that problem. So there's what we think so far there, Caroline. Appreciate you. Swag Boy, do you think that we'll see another MVP season from Mahomes, 40-5? Also, if Mahomes has another 27-39 season, is it time to say he's regressed? I mean, you can, but there's all kinds of factors in that regression, because he's not operating by himself. If anything taught us, the two things that he's been going through for the last 3 years are a wide receiver core that isn't up to par and an offensive line that isn't up to par. Any quarterback will regress when that happens. So if you can't necessarily say it was him, other than the obstacles were too insurmountable, in my opinion.
Yeah, I personally think Andy Reid's forcing his hand a little bit. I'll be honest. I've said that before. I think he's forcing his hand a little bit too much, in forcing him to throw the football not down the field. And it felt like that really took the turn in the Bills game in the regular season, where they said, we're not doing this anymore. We're not doing it. We're just not going to throw the ball down the field. And they never did. They just didn't do it. And until the Super Bowl, they were pretty much just okay living in that intermediate world. Can't do that. You cannot live that way in any offense. I don't care who's orchestrating it. You need to be able to throw the ball down the field. And Patrick finally said F it. Said F it. Granted, they were losing 40-0 essentially, right, but they needed a catalyst. And if they cannot throw the football down the field, I'm going to put the blame more on Andy Reid than anybody else, not Patrick Mahomes as much, because I believe he's being forced to do something that is still not in his comfort zone, and he's fighting it a little bit, which I understand.
Yeah. When you are what you are, Be what you are. Thanks, Swag Boy. Jeremy, I suspect Dan will have a good tape room episode this week. I suspect you are absolutely right,
That
Jeremy.
is the
So
goal.
be
It is
prepared.
the goal.
Tad Schroeder, thanks for the super chat, buddy. I appreciate your help. Thomas, Turk getting a big contract. Are there any DTs the Chiefs could sign? Draft is deep at DT. Could they draft 2 instead? I think it's more likely that they go double dip at interior, or maybe an interior and an edge. I think that's possible, but does anybody free agency strike your fancy?
Not really. Let me pull it up real quick unless you have it handy.
I've got it. I can share it too.
All right, cool. That works. Obviously I wanted the Chiefs to bring back Wharton, but at the number, you couldn't really do much about that. Jonathan Allen is interesting, 27 years old, and at the very least, he gives you that guy next to Chris Jones who will run stuff and be it to he hasn't been the player that he was a few years ago, the last 2 years, but he is interesting to me on that regard. If he's next to Chris Jones, maybe he plays better. In general, maybe he plays better in this defense. I don't know. Maybe he was kind of tired of it. I'm not entirely sure what happened, but he's interesting. We're still Levi Onwuzurike is still interesting to me, but that's more of as a rotational backup to Chris Jones. I think that's the kind of person, a player that he is, more of a 3-tech. You got your eye on anybody?
Jerry Tillery still pisses me off when we play against him, so I say bring him in. Why the hell not? Greg Gaines has made some plays. I can see that. Now these are all low-end contracts. They're all older than Turk. There's not many guys. I think Turk might have been the youngest guy, one of them on this list, along with Levi. Yeah. So, I mean, it tells you that there's not a ton out there. I'm just looking to see if there's anybody else that I'd get younger with, and I'm not coming across a lot. I do still want to see Marlon come back to Kansas City. I do think that's a distinct possibility. But you see, all these projected values are pretty low of guys down here. So, and they've been eating up those that were values. I just don't see a whole lot there. I'm not paying for Hargrave. I'm not going 32 years old. Larry Ogunjobi, I liked his game 3 years ago. I'm not willing to pay for it now. Morgan Fox, no. Solomon Thomas, no thanks. Jenkins, no. I mean, unfortunately, no. There's just a couple of guys, and Jerry would probably be my top pick if I had to.
Yeah, I mean, Grady Jarrett was released today. Rev points out here. I mean, sure. It becomes a money conversation with him because again, I believe he was injured 2 years ago, and maybe a little bit this past year. You'd have to correct me on that, but even if he did play all the games this year, he was released for a reason because he wasn't living up to the contract that he signed with the Falcons. So that's a money thing. You have to kind of figure that out, but I think you can always talk to him.
Yeah, it certainly can't hurt. Good conversation goes a long way. Isaac, thank you. With the offense seeming to be addressed during free agent period, what moves do you see the team making to help the D? I mean, Nick's back. That contract doesn't give you a whole lot of room on that side of the ball to go spending. I think they're comfortable with their safeties. They might pick up a low-end safety. I don't know, but I think, honestly, it's corner depth. If you're going to help the defense, it's either interior defensive line or corner depth.
Yeah, and you guys are right. I forgot that as soon as he was released, the Bears swiped him up. So Grady Jarrett's not on the market. The Bears just came right in and did that. So it's really slim pickings on the defensive line there. To Isaac's point, the offense, this was kind of the plan that I figured as soon as the Brett Veach and Andy Reid said they like the defensive tackle class, the defensive line class. Like I knew that this is how we were going to be seeing the free agency. So they just need some depth pieces. Don't be surprised, like you said, if Tuipulotu comes back. If there's a couple of other players that Kansas City has, Derek Nottie would not shock me. He was back in Kansas City. It's going to be a low-cost, deep run-stuffing guy. Like it, just don't get upset if they do stuff like that because this is what they have to do, unfortunately, to keep things afloat. You're going to have to make some deals.
Yeah. I will say the only reason that I don't think Derek Nottie would return, if he does not, I believe it's physical. As far as I understand, he played with an injury in his upper body all last season, and it did not improve. So I do think there could be extenuating circumstances there. As far as the corner group goes, I'm still intrigued by Byron Jones. I would look at, or I'm sorry, Byron Murphy. I would still look at him. 27 years old, somewhere 6 to 8 is probably there. I still like Christian Fulton, even at 27. I think you can get him on a cheap deal. I don't know. I think there's plenty of guys out there that could fill a role and, most importantly, compete to try to give somebody something that pushes Jaylon Watson. I'm excited about CRW and what he's going to do and have a possibility to be the nickel guy. I'm not certain that's the way it'll go. In the draft class, I think there's more nickels that I like than there are outside guys that I like. So at least for where the Chiefs have to pick. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's fair.
We're not talking about top 15s. So we will see what happens. Thank you, Isaac. Appreciate you. David, I've been doing DEDL, SCB, and RB with trade backs in most mocks. Chiefs move so far, it looks like they're aiming for the same. I don't know that that's necessarily true. I don't think this can turn into an all defensive draft. I just can't see that.
It'll be hard for them to go other ways in terms of elevating this offensive class. Like, I'm not sure if they're going to like this offensive class a lot, which again, it depends. I think that we know they like the defensive line, and that's all we've gotten out of them. And I mean, they've brought back offensive line pieces and brought in offensive line pieces, but they might. That was weird. Lights going on and off in the house. They might like the wide receivers. Like, I think that there's another chance that you get a complimentary wide receiver with Hollywood Brown only on a 1-year contract. You still have to look to the future with that. So wide receivers an area. I personally really like this cornerback class. I do. I like it quite a bit in all
for outside.
Yeah.
Okay.
On all 3 days. I like a lot of these guys, but day 2 was where I really like the cornerback class. I think there's a lot of very good players at corner on day 2. First day is probably defense tackle, defensive end, but also a couple of my guys on day 2. And I think you might see 1 or 2 offensive players taken, specifically if they get a tackle that falls and a wide receiver, but then you see a defensive tackle and a defensive end on day 1 or day 2 to complete that with their top 100 picks. Would not shock me.
Yeah, I just don't think they can go without offense. So I agree.
No, for sure.
Of the top 100s, 2 or 3 of them should be defense. But yes, we're gonna have to find something. PK, thanks, buddy. Love you guys, but all the DL are vanishing, and we lost a DL. What do we do? Do we panic? I don't think it's panic time because you don't have a whole lot to work with cap-wise. You knew this was coming.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to get your second and third tier. You need a starter next to Chris. As far as I'm concerned, that's the job number 1. I don't know that we can survive an entire season with Mike Dana as your other defensive tackle.
Yeah, no. He can't play one tech. He can't do it. And they don't have one right now. They legitimately don't. So unless you're talking about a UDFA on the roster, maybe a former 3rd-round pick from last year, no, they don't really have one. So they need to address the defensive line in free agency and in the draft. So you're probably going to see a low cost somebody like Ryan was mentioned. He's drilling off a couple of names. Probably safe to assume one of them ends up in the second wave of free agency in Kansas City.
I have to think so as well. Second wave, maybe even third. I think
maybe,
the Chiefs will be way more active then. They will have had to do their restructures by then, so we'll know how much room they have to maneuver. I think that'll be important too. Swag boy, we need to sign McDuffie ASAP. Yeah, you're preaching to the choir here, brother. We've been saying that since like mid-season. He's going to get paid elsewhere if we don't hurry and pay him. No, he's not going to get paid elsewhere. It is not a question of whether he leaves. It's how much you have to pay to keep him. They will not lose control of him. I guarantee you that. Nobody else can negotiate with him. He'll be on a 5th-year contract first. They'll have the franchise tag if they need it. Not a problem. It's just going to cost more and more money every second that ticks off the clock.
Yep. That's just how it works.
Yep. Cody, so how are we feeling about Trey now, huh?
I'm worried. I'll be honest. I'm worried about this because we had confidence brimming that they're going to get a deal done. He signs the franchise tag, and then it's would like to get a deal done. That is not confidence. That is, I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. I'm a little bit worried about that going forward. In an offseason where you trade away Joe Thuney and then you franchise tag your other guard, and he's thinking, maybe I'm not going to be in Kansas City going forward. Not great.
I don't think that's the truth. I think the truth is they know they have him over a barrel now. And by signing the tag, you're getting that minimum, or it forces the team back to the table. I think it's a negotiating tactic. And if I was Trey's agent, I'd be pretty damn happy with myself, to tell you the truth. But I don't think it precludes him from coming back. It's just going to be, again, more expensive than it was going to be last week. Well done. It's chess. I swear to God, it's chess. Cold Ape, what DT is still available? Do you want to see Veach go get in replace of loss of Gordon? Do you have anybody that stands out to you? I know we just looked at it. So
we just looked at it. So there's nothing else in the last 10 minutes that have come up to my name.
And he probably wrote that 10 minutes ago because I'm slow.
Yeah, probably.
Surprised that Reid hasn't been snapped up yet. Yeah, Sugary. I think that's about normal. I think tomorrow, maybe Wednesday. I think that's probably going to be about the time. Second wave, I will call that.
Yeah.
Isn't it a mistake to let Menahue walk with Watson leaving? Should D-Hop be a resign? It's not a mistake to let Menahue walk. You got to let him see what's out there. If they wanted him back, they would have extended him already. The injuries are a problem. That's the reason. It's not his performance. It's not his presence in the locker room. It's that he hasn't been able to be on the field. So I don't think they're able to pay him what he wants. And I don't know that anybody else will either. So I do think there's a good chance that he comes back.
That's the thing, is that injuries have put him off the first, wave of free agency. Maybe Wednesday is when you see the market start to pick up on him. But I wouldn't be surprised if you don't see anything about Charles until next week, the week after. Because that's the thing, right? Like you have to wait and see how the other teams feel. And with this quote unquote down free agency class, and he's not getting paid with guys like, I don't even know how many defensive ends got paid today, to be honest with you, but not a ton.
No. Bosa's still out there. Miller's still out there. Landry's still out there. No, didn't Landry go back?
Landry is somewhere.
Yeah. Reddick landed in Tampa Bay. They brought Khalil back to the Chargers, but
that was
Marcus
weird.
Lawrence out there, Preston Smith out there, Zadarius Smith out there, Matt Judon out there, Chase Young still out there. I told you guys about him a couple weeks ago. Charles, Dietrich Wise, Lorenzo Carter, Brandon Graham. He's like 78 years old, but he's still on the list.
He's retiring, so.
Did he announce that? I hadn't seen it.
Yeah, after the Super Bowl, he said he was done.
Okay, smart move. Get out, dude. You're just going to end up limping more. That's the only thing left for you. Good Lord. Okay. Scott, how does JC Horn's monster contract affect Trent McDuffie's negotiations? It doesn't, because they're not negotiating. It's the floor now.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? And it's funny because I just tweeted yesterday that they should sign him as soon as possible, and then the JC Horn thing happens. I'm like, oh, would you look at that? So it's just how it works. He was always going to be expensive, right? Trent McDuffie was always going to be expensive. And I know people are saying, let him play and then work his way to it back to nickel. It won't be as much. That just won't be the case. He's not going to play. He's not going to be a nickel cornerback anymore. He is an outside corner. He will play on the outside in Kansas City. And maybe he plays a few snaps at nickel, maybe. But overall, he'll be an outside guy, and he'll get the bag. He will. And that's okay. The problem is that, I would have liked to see it happen. So we know it's going to be expensive, but I would have liked to see that come down already.
He is a matchup corner, just like JC Horn.
Absolutely.
That is the bottom line. And unfortunately, that costs money.
Yep.
Woo. Thanks, Scott. Appreciate you, buddy. Hunter, new tackle is 2-year. Could Kingsley play guard for those years, build confidence, improve, and still be the LT of the future, or is he a guard and a guard only? I think it's still very fluid. We don't know the state of mind, the physicality. What it says to me is they want Kingsley on the field, period. That he's still got enough upside. And we've got to remember, he came out of here at 20 years old. I don't think he's set in stone anywhere. Jim Moore is a bridge tackle. Whether that's a bridge back to Kingsley or a bridge to another draft pick or a bridge to another free agent, I don't know. But he's a bridge.
Yeah. The ideal situation is that Kingsley becomes your left tackle next season. I haven't seen the actual confirmation of the contract. but I do think you might get an out year, and unless it's a flat contract, which again I don't know. But typically, you have these contracts that either you can get out of them a year early, or it's just what it is. So at the end of the day, I do think that there's a possibility that he is still the tackle of the future. You're just trying to figure out how to currently get him on the field so he can learn. He needs to start learning. And you guys have heard the speech 1,000 times about what they did and how it maybe cost him not only potentially starting at tackle this year, but losing a year of development. That's the most important thing, that it cost him a year of development that he now has to get at guard, which is tough to do. So we'll see what the offseason brings. At the end of the day, maybe he comes into camp and he's just better. You don't know what happens. Like, things do happen, but I would expect Jaylon Moore to be the starter for at least this season, and then you reevaluate next year.
Yeah, makes sense. Thanks, Hunter. Info, nice to see you. Is it time that we have a talk about Veach taking too long to re-sign our players, or does it come after Sauce and Stingley get deals? He should be in talks with George, Leo, and Jaylon already. Absolutely. And here's the thing. The window opens when it opens for a reason. They could be doing these now, and they probably are. The problem is the cap. They don't have the cap to sign these deals right now, because not only are they still, I think they're still over the cap right now.
Yeah, they have not cleared any space yet.
No. So that's a hard thing right now. So if I go back and I will show this to you guys as well, so we can all know what the hell I'm talking about. If I click that button, it should work. Okay. So not only are they still 9 over the cap here, but look at this, 82. I know that sounds like a lot, but it's really not, because there's only 24 guys under those contracts.
Yeah.
That is nothing. Nothing at all. 27 doesn't get a whole lot better. There's only 11 guys under contract. You have 160 left. You spent half, or about roughly half, of your current allocated cap on 11 players. And that's the hard part, is it's the stacking. The way that they do contracts works year one. They can get things signed because they keep the base salaries done. They do the bonuses. So that cap number stays low year one, but it starts to climb up really, really quickly. And that is the hardest part. But I agree with you. You can't now, you let Horn get in there. I honestly didn't think Horn was going to set another ceiling, but Sauce is. Stingley has a chance to, but Sauce certainly is. You want to be done before those guys.
You want to. Just don't think they're going to.
Call Dan a pessimist now. Luis, nice to see you. What do you guys think of Darian Porter or Zach Frazier, the corners coming out in the draft? I like Porter. I think he's a Spags type.
I have not watched Zah. I don't have the UTSA tape to watch Zah, but I'm a big fan of Darian Porter's upside. Now, you have to remember, he is a 6th-year player. Played 3 years at wide receiver before transferring to corner. And then there's the COVID year stuff, injuries in there too. So you can't remember that. Maybe you can't forget that. But he is exactly what Spags wants in his secondary. He's big, he's long, plays with a lot of effort, and he has legitimate ball skills. He can find the football.
Mm-hmm. That's key. It's one of the metrics that I always follow. Thanks, Luis. Sean, we're going to cover a couple here because we've kind of covered a many here already. They are willing to pay him something. It just isn't top tier money. So we're going to see how long that takes. But I do think they get back to a number. Yes, Donnie, double dipping is the plan, at least in my book. Yep. Will we ever draft a burner off the edge with some bend? Just one, please. Michael, it's a great idea, but that's not the SPAG system. The SPAG system is power, not bend. They're never going to go for James Pierce. That's just not in the purview.
The key is finding someone that has it all. And they don't have a top 5 pick. They don't have those. So personally, I'd be looking at Femi Oladajo on day 2 out of UCLA. Former linebacker, played defensive end in high school, has the athletic tools, the speed, the power, and the actual ability to stop the run. So he's someone that I have like tabbed for one. He's my guy. I love him. He's a fan.
I like it.
I love Femi. Like, he's one of my favorite players in this draft. But overall, he also fits the mold. He's long. He has exactly what the Chiefs want from a defensive end. So just remember, if you guys hear his name on day 2 going to Kansas City, I'd love to see that happen.
And in all honesty, he's been buried. He was behind Latu and the Murphy brothers for so long that he didn't have a chance to get out to edge. So for this like renaissance and a newcomer, like he always had traits, but now he's popping out. So he's been on my list as well, but I'm not going to try to say he's my guy. He's yours. We're going to be down the line on that one. Thank you, Michael. Chief DeLorean, love your avatar. Bring back Willie Gay and Chavarius Ward. Chavarius just signed elsewhere. I can't remember where it was within the last hour. He got paid too.
He went to the Colts.
Was it the Colts? Okay. So, yeah. So he's gone. But yes, I would bring back Willie right now. Willie signed to play down there last year for $5. You can get him for that or maybe even less at this point. And if you could actually please bring Colin back as well, I'd be very happy with that too. I don't think Colin's a free agent, but I'm just saying.
No, he's not. Trade for Colin Saunders, though, tomorrow, please. I'd be happy.
Yeah, that would make me happy as well. Kid, what do you think of Kyron Lacy if the situation clears up? I don't know him, so I'm not sure. Or Rashad Smith from SMU. I've seen SMU one time this year. I have not done film on it.
So the situation with Kyron Lacy is not good, okay? We don't know anything. He was not invited to the Combine. His Senior Bowl was rescinded. There is a lot of bad things circling about Kyron Lacy right now. If it all blows over, he was a top 5 receiver for me in this class before all that stuff.
Really?
I was a big fan. Okay. But the off-field stuff, as we have now seen every single year, even though this latest one was cleared up very quickly, has happened too often in Kansas City. I don't believe he is going to be on their board in any way, shape, or form. Rashad Smith is a very fun player for me. He is not Tyrone Tracy, but the body type stuff is what it is. He's not as big as Tyrone is. Tyrone coming out of Purdue last year, former wide receiver, had the body type. You know, he had the pass protection tools. I think Rashad Smith gives you some. He's still learning. Obviously, again, former wide receiver, but he has the feel of running back. Like he feels the position very well. He feels space. He finds cutback lanes. He has actually quite good vision for a former wide receiver. So I like him in this offense specifically because you can run outside zone with that guy. You can run everything outside with him. And then he's a very good receiver, which the Chiefs, they need at running back.
And they covet those guys. You know, you have to have that ability if you're going to play in the Chiefs backfield. That's just bottom line. Thank you for enlightening me as well. Green, we kind of touched on this. Is Trey Smith extension in trouble? It just means that the numbers got to come up. And unfortunately, Trey's a little bit more in the driver's seat now. The only way to get his cap number down is for the team to come up. So I think it'll take longer is what I'm actually thinking. Black and Gold, thank you for the support. After signing Moore, is it plausible to still take an OT in round 1 over a defensive tackle, despite the need for DT if the KC draft board ranks the OT higher? Absolutely. They will go by their board no matter what. The whole point of this exercise in free agency is so you don't have to go take a position with a draft pick. So, yes, I do think, and honestly, there's way more DTs in this class than there are OTs. So I don't even think it's a terrible risk to do that.
No, I agree. You have to be able to, again, fill out needs in free agency, and they have done that, but it doesn't preclude them from taking a tackle at all. And it shouldn't, especially if you think you can better yourself down the line with a tackle. Like if you want to draft someone and develop him, hell, maybe we're reading the tea leaves wrong. Maybe Kingsley will be the backup to Jaylon Moore for 2 years. Maybe they think they want to develop him and they like Hunter Norris at left guard a lot, or they drafted an interior offensive lineman because there's a lot of good interior offensive linemen in this class too, and they go that route. There's a lot of options. There's nothing in stone about this offensive line, regardless of what they've done. So if there is a player on their board that is higher than somebody else, they should and probably will draft them.
I have to think so as well. Thanks, Black and Gold. Appreciate you. Green, appreciate you. Why is no one talking about CB? Well, we just did. Yeah. They're really thin. And that's the thing is you can get by, but yes, you need to upgrade that. And some of that can be natural progression, I think, from CRW in particular. But, you know, there's a lot out there, and you got to get better competition. Jalen Watson sprains his ankle. You cannot be in the situation you were in last year. That's bottom line for me.
It's bad.
Real KB, thank you,
bad.
buddy.
Thank you.
Appreciate your support. Always out there. Hannah, thank you. Trey's deal is not in trouble. They're restructuring contracts for cap space because I believe Trey's contract will be larger money signing bonuses than to manage the cap. Wait until the new league year and try not to panic, in her humble opinion. Hannah, I agree with you. And it's probably still going to be more than I wanted to pay a guard, but it's going to be what it is. I know it's going to be more than Dan wanted to pay a guard.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Thank you, Hannah. Appreciate it.
Thank you,
Hannah. Belsarius, Juju won't cost much to bring back. Seems him and Mahomes have a decent connection with the Travis Lowe decreasing. Is it worth it? I'll never say no because the guy made some clutch plays. But, I mean, what did you get at him? 300 yards last year? I don't think you can get much more.
That's it. That's all you're bringing him in for wide receiver 5. That's what that is. And that's okay. If he's going to come back and be fine with that, which I clearly think he is, absolutely. I got zero problem with that.
I don't either. I mean, it can't hurt, right?
No. It's not Sky Moore.
No. And the whole Western Michigan connection, I don't even want to talk about. Do you guys think that our top 3 needs heading into the draft may be safety and maybe wide receiver? I would put wide receiver in there. I don't think safety is a top 3 need. I'd probably put it right below that. What do you think?
Yeah, it's situational for safety because they have bodies for 2 high. They just don't have a single high guy, but they operate mostly out of 2 high. So they're probably not going to have it as high on their board. But wide receiver absolutely is, specifically because of what could happen to Rashee Rice this year and then the future. You don't have anybody. You don't.
Yeah.
You have to keep drafting receivers.
Yeah, it's empty. You have to get one every single year. And I like a bigger body guy too. So, you know, they're pretty small right now.
Yeah.
With Hollywood, Xavier, and even Rashee's good size, but he's only 1. And if he tweaks an ankle or he gets 8-game suspension, you know, you're out of luck. So look at CSU, folks. That's all I'm going to say. His name's Horton.
James Winchester is back, everybody.
Oh, hey, and we're back in the fold.
1 year, $1.65 million. 1 point. Yep. I was okay. Fully guaranteed. Good job, James. Welcome back to Kansas City.
Good for him at 44 years old or whatever the hell he is. That's impressive. Hannah, thank you again. Wish Veach traded for Jeremy Tunsil from the Texans for left tackle like the Commanders did. No thanks. Casey loves those draft picks, but we've not worked them long term, and that's a fair point. But Tunsil, as good as he is, what was that, 5 picks? There's no way in hell I'm doing that.
No, it was a lot of picks. And also, you have to wonder if he's secretly like injured because he did not play well last year. And I know that the entire offensive line in Houston, for whatever reason, didn't play well. I hope a change of scenery helps that because, again, there was a reason he got the extension he got. So it was a nuts trade. Houston would never have traded him to Kansas City. He's out of the AFC for a reason. Like I don't think it was a good move from the Texans. I thought it was stupid. It's a potential waste of a rookie contract year of CJ Stroud. And then they just said, that's in this tackle class and in this free agency tackle class. Like, what's going on?
What are you thinking?
What's going on?
That's what I'm saying. I do not agree with it either, but maybe there's something we don't know about, as you said. Thank you, Hannah. Thank you, Dub Freak. Nice to see you, pal. I know Veach will do some cap magic. But other than signing 65, can we realistically expect any more starters available in free agency, or is it just a case of prove it depth guys? Appreciate the work. Well, here's the thing: is they're working on this, right? They can get 32.5 back from Patrick. They can get 15 back from Chris. If they got really, really creative, they could get up to 12 back from Trav, but that basically just him giving them money because it's the last year of his deal. We don't expect any extensions or anything like that. So it's probably sitting there right around 45 you can get. But if you had to have let's say a defensive tackle starter, you'd have to trade for him. There's no one out there in free agent that you can just go buy. So that's the problem. And if you wanted to do that with a wide receiver, it's over. You know, the quality is gone. Adams got 2 for $46 million or something like that at 33 years old or whatever he is. So, I mean, kudos to him. He's doing better than Aaron is, but I mean, I don't think starters are what's left at this point, in my opinion. Do you see anything different, Dan?
Not really, but you never know, right? You never really know. I think that there are some younger. I would have loved to see De'Ami Brown in Kansas City. I'm not gonna lie, I would have loved to see that, but he's in Jacksonville now, so uh, Trevor Lawrence is gonna miss him on some over routes, and just so no, I think that there's some good depth pieces. I'm not entirely sure you're getting a ton of starters right now at this point.
I hear you. There's FLDB updating us on the deal for Winchester. Appreciate him. I'm going to grab a couple folks. Last call for super chats if you want on the show. I want to give a shout out to our friend down in Tasmania. I think it's Launceston. I'm not 100%, but hope the cyclone didn't bother you too much. I think you're well south of it. I have a friend in Brisbane that got hit a little bit, but it wasn't too bad. So cheers to you guys down under. Appreciate you guys being here.
That's awesome. Thank you.
It's a good time. Right? Someday I will get down there. I promise. At
some point to visit. No offense, I don't want to live because of the crazy animals. I'm good. I don't need any of those spiders in my house. I'm out. Absolutely not.
That's good to know.
That shit don't fly with me.
Donnie says, screw it. Sign Javon Holland. Who cares?
I'm surprised he didn't trade. Honestly, I'm surprised.
That's fair. I would have expected it as well, too. Maybe there's somebody's working on it right now, for all I know, Donnie. Maybe it's Brett Veach. I don't know. CB Focus, the contract goes before prices go up. Yeah, we're 100% with you, Hannah. Got to get that done like ASAP. And no offense to George Karlaftis, but it's got to be McDuffie first. It is not a question at this point. Jacob, appreciate you, pal. Nice to see you. Thoughts? Cup, Bosa, Young, Lockett, more Dobbins. I'm completely out on Dobbins. He will not stay healthy. I don't want him. I'm really intrigued by the Cup thing. I don't think he's going to get a big contract. I think people are scared of the injuries and the age, and I'd bring him in on a deal like Hollywood's and be very, very comfortable.
That you signed me up for like 2 or even 3 because I was a big Elijah Moore fan, so I would like to see him in Kansas City. I think again, the body type, yards after catch stuff. He's not the big body downfield guy, but he is a role player in this offense. You can talk me into Young, I guess. I want Nick Bosa, and so I still want Joey Bosa. I still do. I still do. I don't care about the injuries. I don't care as long as I know he's working with one in San Francisco. Probably going to end up there as well. But overall, that's what I would prefer.
Okay, there's another comment in here. I'm going to try to find it real quick. It's not this one, although I appreciate you, Darius. Don't sign me to the training staff. It's not going to help that much because I would say don't sign a player that's hurt like that. So Dan's not on my side there. But okay, I can't find it. Oh, here. Okay, so Joe E is asking, will Felix be a starter? It's a possibility right now. My guess is not when it's all said and done. Bosa certainly would be somebody that comes in and would play quite a bit.
No. I'm gonna get to that real quickly, Joe. But I'm just letting Ryan know because I love him and he loves fullbacks. Kyle Juszczyk is being released by the 49ers. And the Chiefs have already brought in 2 ex-49ers. So why not bring another one?
The hair and Juszczyk in the back, full backfield, 2 fullbacks. I am all here for this all day long. You guys are lucky we're live. Right, because of the storms. That's awesome. And thank you for pulling my triggers, Dan. I appreciate you.
You're welcome.
Let's see. Hannah again. Beach is always shopping for players in free agency on clearance. Yes, absolutely. And that's where it is. Hannah did it as well. So that was going to be where I was going with that whole conversation. Bosa, or would you go Von Miller? If you're going to give a minimum deal incentive lace to either of them, no Von at all.
No Von. No, okay. Von. No. I will take Joey Bosa in a heartbeat over Von Miller.
Okay. All right. Chris is going at him pretty hard. And I got to tell you, I would still like to see it, even if it's just, a $5 contract for a week. I'd still like to see it.
Yeah. And just to answer Joe's real quickly, this is the last shot FAU is going to get. The last shot. Like, this is the last year. If there's no legitimate pass rush development, it's over. It's over.
Yeah, I think so. I don't know who Chris Hines is, but yeah.
I mean, that's supposed to say Jones. Autocorrect it to Hines, probably.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. See, you're so much better at that than I am. I actually read dumb. Azeez Ojulari better than Omenihu?
No, he is not.
I would not say that, but he's a lot younger and he's a lot less hurt, if I remember correctly.
He's been hurt too, though. Like he's
Has he?
had his own injury stuff. So
Okay.
Aziz has had a pretty good year last year, but in terms of injury versus production, I would take Omenihu over Aziz there.
Gotcha. Okay. Joseph, thank you, buddy. And thanks for being a member, folks. You can get in the memberships. If you missed my last rant or any of Dan's, you got to be at the rookie level or above. So if you want to see that stuff, go get in the memberships. It's not a huge cost, and it is definitely worth your time. Should we expect a new Mahomes contract instead of a restructure based on the Allen deal? I don't think the Allen deal has anything to do with it. At some point, I do think Patrick's got so much money between Oakley and Allstate and whatever the hell else. I think he will just at some point just be like, hey, let's just tear that up and start over. And I do think he'll pull a Tom Brady and sacrifice his earnings with the team at some point. So if they keep pushing money out to the end, I don't think it's actually going to come due.
Yeah, that's something I'm pretty excited about. We've seen Patrick just win off the field in terms of money. He's probably making more off the field than he is on it. So he's pretty comfortable, I think, right now doing whatever he needs to do to help the team win. And we've seen that's not easy for a lot of players to do. And most players don't want to do it. So I think that we'll see that with Patrick, and it's very unique in the NFL. So hopefully we can see that unfold.
Yeah, let's cross our fingers. Caroline, thank you, buddy. I hope you all get a press pass this year. Thanks. Y'all deserve it. They're too scared for y'all to ask why they haven't extended McDuffie. That's probably true. There is a tense question that I would ask that will get me in trouble. I guarantee you.
Also, both of us fitting in that room with the rest of the press, just it wouldn't work. It's such a small room that's the reason they're not getting anybody else in there either. Like they just don't want to, and it's too small.
It is dang small. That is a good point. I didn't even think about the physicality of it. Good point. Carson, thank you. Is there any good defensive tackle still on the market? Not much. We covered this earlier. You must have joined a little bit late. There's just not much out there. A couple of maybes. I don't want to sign Hargrove's probably still the biggest name out there.
Yeah.
He's over 30 at this point, and I'm not doing that on purpose. You know, I'm trying to get younger at this point. I would have given that money to Turk, right? I mean, if you trick me into signing something, you never know. But, you know.
That's funny.
Raekwon Davis never really did anything for me. Like I said, Greg Gaines before. Jerry Tillery's the guy, and he's barely under. He's 29 years old. There's just nothing out there is the problem, Carson. I'm sorry, buddy. I'm going to let you handle this one, so I'll come back to it. Oh, that's a you question, too. Hold on.
All right.
Oh, okay. You're back. Okay. Thank you for this, by the way, Caroline. I appreciate it.
Yes, thank you.
Beach was saying the best fit for Spags DE in this draft. Who do you have?
There's a lot of them. Like there are a lot of Spagsy type players. I talked about my favorite, Oluwafemi Oladajo out of UCLA. Tyron Ingram Dawkins out of Georgia is another one of those players. Long, big kind of guy who also can reduce inside. You see him play more of three. He can play down all the way. I think he can play just about anywhere on the defensive line if you want to. Underrated guys on day three. Fadil Diggs out of Syracuse, another kind of long-ish guy who's really more of an up and down player. And then you also have Ja Joyner out of Minnesota, long physical guy on the edge. These are all guys that are later, in probably those two on day three specifically. But when we're looking at like defensive ends in the first couple of rounds, you've got, Nick Scorton out of Texas A&M. Both of the Texas A&M guys are big. They're physical. They're not speed guys. They're long. Realistically, we're talking those guys make a lot of sense. But I love Donovan Ezeraku. He's 34-inch arms. Like he doesn't know how to use them, right? But he's got them.
Remember, we still got Fabian Lovett on the roster, folks. Let's be happy.
Yeah. So I actually have a film review of Donovan Ezeraku dropping tomorrow on the TDN YouTube page. You guys can go check that out. And where, unfortunately, he's not a Spags fit, and you guys will see why if you watch the film room. But he's still a fun player. I'd love to see the Chiefs draft because it would make me happy that they care about what I want them to draft. But it's a good rundown of some of the guys that fit.
There's one guy you didn't mention. I'm really glad you didn't because I thought you were going to steal him. I look at this guy, and he screams Spags to me all day long, and I think he's probably a 3rd or 4th round pick. And I get to watch him because my wife's one of them. He's a Husker. I think Ty Robbins would be fun in this defense, and I think he can do a number of things for you. I think it's going to take some development time, but I like him with Joe Cullen, and I think that could be a cool fit.
Maybe at defensive tackle. Sure. Defensive
Yeah.
tackle, I'm in.
He can play
Not playing
both.
him. I'm not
Everybody
playing
can
him
play
at
both.
defensive end. I'm not playing him at DN. Not doing it.
Here's another for you. Since we signed Elijah Mitchell today, do you guys think that means we won't be drafting a running back?
They better not be not drafting a running back. They better be drafting running backs. You cannot. This is the same reason why we saw people wanting to bring in the Dobbins. Like, no, at this point we can't keep just filling a running back room with aging, hurt players. You can't do it. You have to draft running backs, and they need to draft one. They'll be bringing in UDFAs as well. It wouldn't shock me if they brought in someone else that's a free agent as well. They have to be able to fill out this room with players that aren't hurt, or we're going to see Kareem Hunt back in a Kansas City uniform in week 5 next year because, Elijah Mitchell's hurt.
We got nothing else.
Isaiah Pacheco's hurt. We got nothing else again.
Yeah, cannot let that happen. Thank you, Beach. Thank you, Cole. Hannah, one more. Appreciate you and all your generosity tonight. If I select the damn thing, it'll show up. Broncos getting Greenlaw. Everyone's looting the 49ers. You can't loot what they let go. They made these conscious decisions. They are retooling as well. But yeah, a lot of talent is leaving San Francisco right now. And I expect the same thing to happen in Philly next year. Because as good as how he is at evaluating talent, their cap is a mess as well. Half of their defensive front walked out today. So they knew it was coming, but it did happen. So just keep an eye on everything. And Jacob's going to round us out tonight. We appreciate all of you. Please like, sub, hit the bell, hit the store, do the stuff. Do not miss the number one thing. My favorite thing about the offseason is this guy. You guys got to get on the action. A lot of you always have. You get a deduction. If you're an RGR member, that code should be in the discussions now. And I actually put it up for pre-sale. Pre-sale price is cheaper than the regular price.
Yes.
So go get it. That's the Athletic Matrix over on rogueapc.com. So Jacob said, with Mitchell signing, I'd test Dobbins because both are injury prone. Still draft an RB. And I'm with Dan on Young. He's I would still take a chance on Young, though.
Yeah, I mean, that's fine. I got no problems bringing him in because, again, if you can get him cheaper, sure. I would have preferred Dobbins over Mitchell.
Oh, really?
If you're gonna bring in an injury-prone running back, give me the one with vision.
Okay. I like the one with speed.
They both have speed, but they're both injured, so they really just don't have that explosiveness anymore.
Gotcha. Okay. And Jacob, you echoed my thoughts as well. Already happening in Philly. Yeah, I mean, the Chiefs are decimated right now on the defensive front, but it's been consistent for the last 4 or 5 years. Like, you see teams just get to the pinnacle and fall away. The fact that we've gone back over and over and over is a testament to being able to manage this, which is a very tall order every single year. So, Daniel, thank you for all you do. What else do you have coming this week? Tout everybody out for everything that you're doing.
Well, just all draft stuff, guys. Like, after we do the film room on Wednesday, which I'll be recording tomorrow, I'm just doing reports. I'm getting into DJ Giddens, who is a fun player. I'm interested to see how that ends up working out because I've noticed some weird vision stuff on his tape. We're going to be watching Jaquindon Jackson again out of Arkansas. I've actually watched him last year when he was, I believe, at Utah. So I'll be watching his film this week along with Andrew Armstrong, the wide receiver out of Arkansas as well. That is one that makes sense for the Chiefs on day 3 in terms of big body, downfield, go catch a football. Like he will do that very well. But that's the you guys. You always follow me on Twitter at InHarmsWay19 with all the different things that we do, dropping clips. I'll do the same, every single week. And we're gonna get this draft guide out as soon as we can, guys. I promise. We're trying.
We are gonna boil it away. Last question for you is from me. If you have a tight end and 2 fullbacks on the field, is that more like 16 personnel? Like, what do you call that?
Probably
count them double.
Probably 41 personnel almost, right? We're just going full bore with the big bodies.
Let's go. Okay. On that note, in my craziness, we'll end it tonight, folks. Thank you for being with us. Thank you for taking that time. And poof, literally, as I say that, there goes Chase Young off to the Saints, bringing him back. So there went that concept. So we'll see.
Please, 3 years, $51 million. Yeah, you can have them.
Oh yeah. No, I would have put a period in there. 5.1. Dang. Okay. That's gonna do it. We're gonna be in shock for a while, but we'll be back with you. I'll have something tomorrow. Dan's got the film on Wednesday. Don't miss any of it. We're getting spooled up here. It's just getting going. Thank you for your time. And Dan, thank you for your time away from the fam.
Of course, guys, just enjoy it. This is getting to the grind of the draft season with free agency starting up. Lots going on. We will get you updated as soon as possible if the Chiefs bring in anybody else.
Let's get it done. Have a good one. We'll talk to you next time.